Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We are continuing on with chapter 4. Let's start with uh, Mangalacharan prayer. And I have my calendar set for India, but I don't know about the US time zone aspect. But today is a very, very auspicious day. It is Gopastami today. So, the Lord Krishna dresses, the gopis dress as Gopa today. Very beautiful celebration in the temples and very auspicious day today in the month of Kartik. So with that, let us start the Mangalacharan prayer. Share the screen. Sharing. Please try to recite these prayers at your end without unmuting, but please try to recite them very nicely. These prayers are very powerful and they will help in your understanding of Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutha Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamsya Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatapini He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. So we will resume from chapter 4. Chapter 4 is a very, very important chapter. It is known as Jnana Yoga or Transcendental Knowledge. And just to quickly state the importance of this chapter, there are two parallel tracks in which we should understand the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. One track is to provide the spiritual path, the various spiritual paths. Bhakti is just merely introduced, but the tracks of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga, another name for which is Dhyana Yoga, are not introduced, but described in detail in the first 6 chapters. In this 4th chapter especially, Jnana Yoga is being described, and then the rest of Bhagavad Gita will focus exclusively on Bhakti Yoga, because that is Lord Krishna's main emphasis for all human beings. The second parallel track, or the second aspect of these first 6 chapters, is that, like I said, bhakti is introduced, but later on, when bhakti will be described in more depth, or the significance of bhakti will be described in more depth, then these chapters will come in useful, because these can be used in bhakti as well. So, not just so Jnana Yoga, specifically for fourth chapter, means that for the very broad masses of spiritualists, Jnana Yoga means Brahma Jnana or Atma Jnana, or known as Sankhya. So that will start from around verse number 16 of this chapter. But the first, or the, starting from verse number 9 to 15, these 7 verses are focusing on Bhakti Gyan. Gyan about Krishna, not Gyan about the Brahman or the absolute truth, the impersonal absolute truth, but about the person, Sri Krishna. So, this is giving us an introduction into Bhakti. And when we learn about Bhakti Yoga, then Jnana, the process of Jnana, can be dovetailed or can be used for Bhakti as well. So these are the 2 reasons why we should, why the 4th chapter is present in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so we were at 4.9, which arguably one can say is the very, very important verse of the 4th chapter. And okay. And it is talking about that one should get jnana about Lord Shri Krishna. So as we are doing this discussion, I request everybody to keep their Bhagavad Gita with them, because I don't have all the verses on the slides. So I'm expecting everybody will have 2 things in front of them, the computer or whatever device on which you are seeing the slides, and the Bhagavad Gita on which you can see the verses. Okay, long. So, just a quick recap of verse 9. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yogeti tattva. So we discussed in detail last time that Veti, one who knows, Janma karma, me, my activities, my birth, etc., which are divyam, which are transcendental or which are spiritual in nature. In essence, in tattva, I think I used the word knowing it in your bones, knowing it in a way that even if you are unconscious, you can remember these, you can recollect these points of Janma, Karma, Me, or Krishna's Janma and Karma. You should be able to recall even when you may be unconscious or nearly unconscious. Then, when one knows about Krishna to that deep extent, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti, then on quitting the body, punarjanma naiti, there is no second or there is no next birth. Maameti, one reaches Krishna. So, this verse is telling how important it is to know Janma Karma of Krishna in Tattva, in essence, in your bones. You should know it And it's not about knowing the whole thing, even one aspect, if you know it, even one aspect, if you can focus on, but you know it in a way that that's all you can think about, or that's all you want to think about, that's all that you want to relish or be absorbed in, then punarjanma naiti. So, how this happens? This happens by being absorbed in knowing the pastimes of Sri Krishna, all of them, and then trying to see which ones you like, which ones stick in your mind. Like for our children, they are, for adults, they are the most, somebody you love the most, or your spouse or whoever. Some aspects you remember about them, some pastimes. So there that happened, there that. You may not remember the whole thing, the whole life or whatever, but some things you remember and they remain in your mind, and it gives you a lot of joy, happiness. So in the same way, getting familiar with Krishna's Janma, Karma, etc., Janma, Karma, Chame, Divyam, is very important. And some of them will remain stuck in your mind. And then one becomes curious. One learns or one tries to know them from so many other sources. It's not just Srimad Bhagavatam. Our acharyas have left many, many more details with us through their commentaries, through new shastras that they have written, and so on, by which one can absorb themselves in these pastimes, various aspects about these pastimes, and completely become unified, as if you are present in those pastimes. You were standing there and watching it when it was happening, as if. Then one can say that one knows it. Veti tattvataha. One knows it in essence. So one should try to do this, and it starts by reading Srimad or being absorbed in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the starting point, but that's not the ending point. So one should do this. Now, the next one is there is a specific mood or certain requirements, certain kind of a mindset or consciousness with which to know God, as per 4.9. For that purpose, to know about Krishna, but not in a way that your mind is defocused on other things. So that is why 4.10 becomes a very important verse. 1 second. Okay. So the mood or the consciousness in which to know about Krishna is also very important. And that is being hinted by Sri Krishna in verse number 10. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. So that first line is very important, that giving up. So the first line is about what you should give up. Vita means giving up. Raga bhaya krodha, attachments, and from attachments, the two resulting moods or two results, which is bhaya and krodha. We have discussed this before. Bhaya is what happens when you are afraid of losing something that you have. And krodha comes when you could not get what you wanted to have. And the second line, so the first line is about what you should give up, and the second line is what you should do or what you should try to get. Man maya mam upasritah. So man maya, two times the Lord is referring to himself. Man maya means your mind should be absorbed in me. Man maya mam upasritah. And being completely surrendered or being fully taken full shelter of Krishna. Mam Upasritah. So with these characteristics, these should be the main, this should be the primary engagement of the devotee while one is engaging in knowing about Krishna. So giving up material attachments, vitaraga bhaya krodha, being absorbed in Krishna, manmaya, and the most important thing is Mam Upasritah, taking complete shelter of Sri Krishna. Bahavo Jnana Tapasa. Bahavo means Bahut Log. Bahavo is a plural. Many people have been able to engage in Jnana Tapasa. Tapasa means it is a tapasya. It's an austerity. It's a hardship of obtaining Gyan about Krishna, of that Gyan which was taught in 4.9. So Bahavo Jnana Tapasa. So many people have engaged in this tapasya of Jnana Yoga about me. So this is Bhakti Jnana Yoga, not just Jnana Yoga, but Bhakti Jnana Yoga. Then Puta Mad Bhavan Agata. That like this, they were able to come to me. Mad Bhavan or attain my bhava, mad bhavam agata. They were able to attain me, they were able to attain my bhava. Okay, so that is the understanding. So then the question is, why is giving up attachments so important? What is the reason? Anybody wants to say?
Focus on one thing only.
Okay, Shweta Mataji.
I was about to say something similar, like we will have less distractions and we can completely focus.
Okay, Sini Mataji.
Hare Krishna. When you don't have attachments, because you have alternative desires in the material world, and so you refocus your attachments to the spiritual world, so you can focus on spiritual things instead of the material world, which is an illusion.
So also kind of on the same main topic, focus. Okay, Shamlila Mataji.
Prabhuji, so if we have attachments, we'll never be able to get away from this concept of me, mine, I, and look at like the bigger spiritual reality. We'll always be stuck in the bodily connections, yeah, stuff like that, which would make it very difficult.
Yes, Rama Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So when we have attachments, we'll have cycles of happiness and sadness, repeated dukkha and sukha. So to reduce that cycle and go into more conscious state of bliss, it's suggested to reduce attachments.
Give me 1 second, okay? Just 1 second. Am I still audible?
Yes.
Ji Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, switch to my audio device. Okay, Shrikar, Prabhu.
In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that with increased material attachments, it becomes very difficult to consider Krishna a person. So we become impersonal, in a sense, with more material attachments.
Okay. Okay, very nice. So I think many of you focused on attachments. Yes, Shalu Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was thinking then our priorities will be something else besides, it will not be Krishna.
Yeah, I think you summarized it best. It's not, so focus is important, very important. And I have mentioned it here on the slide also. Then one is able to focus on gaining. So that is an important aspect. But what is really important is making Krishna as the number one priority in our life. And if that is not the case, and we have so many other priorities, now again, it means at a high level, having Krishna as the priority. If you are getting late to work or late to a meeting, then that is the priority at that time. Or if your child is sick, or if you are sick, and going to the doctor's appointment is a priority. But otherwise, at a high level, I don't know if you've studied or read this book, 7 Habits. It's a good book by Stephen Covey. He talks about this quadrant, urgency and importance. So there are so many urgent things, going to the doctor, whatever your project deadlines. But at the important level, and you need to read that book to see what's the difference in his terminology of urgency versus importance. But in your larger picture of life, having Krishna as the topmost priority. So that is what is meant here. And if that is not the case, if some other things are competing with Krishna as the priorities in your life, long term, what do you want to do? Then one will not be able to focus on Krishna in a way that will generate this veti tattvataha about Krishna. So that is what is hinted, or that is what is meant in the second line of the verse, that manmaya. So it's not just vitaraga bhaya krodha. It is also manmaya, putting one's mind on Krishna, and Mam Upasritah, taking complete shelter of Krishna. And especially this Mam Upasritah is a way of living. You cannot say, oh, now I'm going to read Bhagavatam from 8 a.m. or from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Now I will do Mam Upasritah. That doesn't make sense. Mam Upasritah is your way of life, is a priority at a importance level, not at a local, on a transient level. So that is very important. And why I'm stressing on it is because many times we think we have, we take initiation, we become devotees. But this, at a life priorities level, and I am saying this from my own life, putting Krishna at the topmost priority, we miss this. And then we wonder why our devotional life is stuck, or has become mechanical, or has become boring, and we look for something else. So this is very important. And then if we are able to put Krishna as our life priority, then we will be able to do this Bhakti Jnana Yoga and Mad Bhavam Agata. It will happen. Definitely it will happen. One will be able to go to Krishna at the end of one's life. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti will definitely happen. Okay. Same thing, Srila Prabhupada has a very important verse in the purport of this 4.10. It's a very important verse. Adau Shraddha tatah sadhu sango tato bhajana kriya tato anartha nivritti syat tato nishtha ruchis tatah asaktis tato bhavas tatah prema. So these are the 9 steps given in Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we will read or which we will study after some time. And this Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha is the step of Anartha Nivritti, where one completely roots out, one tries to remove all these attachments to various material things which cause anarthas, which cause us to do anarthas, and instead focus on, again, focus nishtha with determination on Krishna, and then it generates ruchi. Ruchi means attraction to Sri Krishna. So those 3 steps, anartha nivritti, nishtha, and ruchi, are connected to this verse, that giving up vitaraga bhaya krodha man maya mam upasritah. So that is very important. Okay. Now, going back to this verse, which is the most important aspect among all these requirements at a high level? Which is the most important requirement? Who can say? It is hinted on this slide as well. Yes, Shweta Mataji.
Giving up material attachments.
Okay.
Taking shelter of Lord Krishna.
Yes, Mam Upasritah. It's in a different color if you see. That is the most important. And that is coming up in verse number 4.11. It's another very important verse. Taking shelter of Lord Krishna is most important. Ye yatha mam prapadyante. So that prapadyante means taking shelter or surrendering to Krishna. So some people take direct shelter of Sri Krishna. Some may take indirect shelter of Krishna. But Lord Krishna is saying, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. Mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So, Lord Krishna is saying, everyone is following my path. Manushya partha sarvashah. Sarvashah means everyone, all manushyas, all people are following my path. In how? In what way? There are various levels of taking shelter. Now, some people are outright going in the opposite direction. So they are also following Krishna's path, but they are going away from Krishna on that path. So that's fine. And law of karma applies to them. Let them go on their own path, and they will be governed by the law of karma, which has been created by Krishna. It will come right in the one of the next verses. Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam. I have created this whole system. So this whole law of karma is included within Varnashram. It's part of that. Based on your karma, you get a certain birth in a certain varna and so on. So it's all connected to the law of karma and what Lord Krishna has created. But there are some people who take direct shelter of Sri Krishna. They are called Krishna Bhaktas or devotees. And some take indirect shelter of Krishna through other teachings of Krishna, like Karma Kanda. What is Karma Kanda? Do your duty properly, your own work, and enjoy the results. That is Dharma, Artha, Kama. And Dharma means primarily just Dharma which gives the fruits, and you take all the fruits for yourself. Sakama Karma Yoga is also another path where you give up some portion of the fruits to the demigods and you expect it back and you enjoy the fruits. So there are all these various paths that one can be on, and all of them have been created by Krishna. In 3rd chapter, Krishna said that all these demigods and all I have only created so that the world can continue to function properly. So in all ways, in all methods, in all paths, one is automatically under the shelter of Krishna. That just depends on how much shelter you are in. And that's now Krishna is directly not going to say this in 12. Okay, I'll come to that slide. In verse number 12, Lord Krishna says, Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devatah kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities. And Kankshataha means akanksha. Akanksha means desire. So kankshantah karmanam siddhim. People have this akanksha, this desire for attaining siddhi. Siddhi means material results or some destination, material destination, through their activities, karmanam, and yajanta iha devataha. That's why they yajanta means they worship the devatas, the demigods. Kshipram is an important word. Quickly. Hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Through this kind of activity, they quickly get what they desired for. So this is the alternative path that Krishna is talking about, and this has been created by Krishna also, this path. But this is not bhakti, and this is not shuddha or pure jnana yoga either. So Lord Krishna is mentioning here, there are all these other paths. For example, in verse number 4.12, we have this path. And people take this path and they get what they want at a material level and they become happy. They are also in an indirect way following my path. That is what is being mentioned here. So that is the understanding. Okay. So we will come to this. We'll come back to this again. What is the other way, the direct way? And that is mentioned in the purport in 4.11, a very important verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's an extremely important verse from Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akamaha sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this chapter in the 2nd canto, 3rd chapter is about bhakti. Just like 2nd chapter of the 1st canto is all about bhakti. Just like the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto is all about bhakti, similarly, the 3rd chapter of the 2nd canto is also all about bhakti. And the 10th verse is a very important, very sweet verse, which says, Akamaha sarva kamova. Now, there are 3 categories of people mentioned in this verse. Akamaha, sarva kama, and moksha kama. So it encompasses these 3 categories, encompass all people. Akama means one who has no desires. Sarva Kama means one who has all kinds of material desires, and Moksha Kama means one who has all kinds of spiritual desires. What else is there? Either you can have material desires, that is Sarva Kama, or you can have spiritual desires, that is Moksha Kama, and or you can have no desires, which is Akama. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That either whatever may be the case, all the people should follow Tivrena bhakti yogena, should follow bhakti yoga with intensity. Tivrena means intense, or in a very strong way. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So bhakti yoga is such a path that it provides all results, including the highest result to the person, Purusham Param. It can take the person to the highest destination, beyond moksha. So, this is what is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. It will come later. This is in the purport and a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, but Bhagavad Gita essentially will also say the same thing later on. So the point is, this is the fast track. If you really want to progress in spiritual path, then Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Take up Bhakti Yoga with intensity. And the slow track, which is mentioned, coming from 4.11, Ye Yatha Mam Prapadyante, all people are following my path some way or the other. There are slow tracks, like worship of devatas. You get material results, and then you can get lost in material, enjoying material results. That's up to you. So that is the indirect path. Or what is not mentioned, there could be an opposite path where one is not even focusing on spiritual life and one is just busy in material life completely. Now, worshipping devatas, I want to bring up. And I have been touring in India for last 2 months, visiting various holy places. And I have seen in many temples, there are also these, outside the main sanctum where Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is there. There are so many Devis and Devatas, the Navagrahas, and Lord, the Sun God, and so many other Devi Devatas. Not just when I'm saying Devis and Devatas, I just don't mean, some people have this understanding, or demigod just means Lord Shiva or Mother Durga. No, that is not the case. They are at the top, very top of the hierarchy. I'm talking about all the other demigods that one worships. And there is so much attachment, or so much in our Hindu culture, there is so much astha, or faith in these demigods. What to do about it? It is extremely difficult to overcome that faith, that attachment to worshipping the demigods for those who are raised in this culture. These are their family traditions. And if you tell them, hey, this is what Bhagavad Gita is saying, then it will be very hard for them to follow, even if they get fully convinced about Bhagavad Gita teachings. Then they might try to do both. I will do this and that. Okay, better. At least you are focusing on Krishna. But due to your inability to give it up, you are keeping your previous tradition alive. But Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, Tivrena means also, it means singular focused, giving up all other paths. And that will be the message of Bhagavad Gita ultimately. Sarva Dharman Parityajya, give up everything else. Ananya Bhakti will be the focus of Bhagavad Gita. So what to do? What should one do? So I want to have some discussion here, this cue here. on this slide means ask this question to the participants. So have some participation or discussion. What to do? So I hope you are listening to the conversation and you are getting the question. What to do if one is entangled or one has such inclination through family values, through tradition or culture in worshipping demigods, and now Bhagavad Gita is saying about exclusive focus on Shri Krishna. What to do? What are your thoughts? Yes, Rama Mataji.
Dovetailing to Krishna, like praying to demigods, but then asking towards bhakti towards Krishna, I guess.
Okay.
Amma is sick.
All right. Yes, Shamlila Mataji.
Prabhuji, similar, but also praying to them with a consciousness that they are devotees of the Lord. So, the consciousness is that we are praying to these exalted devotees of the Lord. And even in that consciousness, even if we have to accept their prasadam or anything like Mataji said, dovetailing it to or asking them for bhakti of Krishna.
Okay. Very good. So, 2 points have come up. They are also devotees of Krishna. And the first point that was brought up is to ask the demigods for Krishna's bhakti. Very nice. Then Hasini Mataji.
I agree with the previous two statements, but in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that these people who are too attached to like demigods are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. So there's not a lot that is possible for like those who are not very strong in devotion and are not able to convince them. So, but we should be confident that over time, because the demigods are devotees of Krishna, over time they will be able to influence their followers to, slowly go to Krishna Bhakti.
Very nice. Very good. So what she's saying is that over a long period of time, the demigods, first of all, will give what you want, what you desire for. But over a long period of time, their goal also is to move you towards Krishna, whether you ask for it or not. And slowly gradually they will move you. Therefore, this is the slow track. That's exactly the reason why in the slide I mentioned it's the slow and gradual, very, very slow track. Okay, Ram Prabhu.
I don't know an answer, but I have a question here.
Okay,
So
we'll take question. Let's continue with the chain of thought. I'll come back to your question.
Right. No, quickly. When you say demigods, do you mean kuldevatas and all those are demigods?
Yes. Now, I don't know who is your kuldevata. For some people, Lord Krishna is the kuldevata.
Okay.
Devta, the devata is a broad word. Okay.
Okay.
So it depends on really who we are talking about. Shrikar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. 2 quick points in regards to this. In the definition of Uttama Bhakti, Krishna Anushilanam refers to Krishna, his incarnations, and also his devotees. So I think someone already mentioned a point about how the demigods they're Krishna's devotees. So we can, that in itself is service to Krishna if we serve in relation. Second point is in BRS, like the Kleshagni Suvida Moksha, this verse, it talks about 6 things. I think one of them is bhakti has the ability to destroy suffering. So all of our, like, if someone's worshiping these demigods, this is not exactly in relation, but this is the first thing I thought of. Someone's worshiping demigods or worshiping even like material, for material desires or whatever, has so many material desires. Krishna will eventually remove all of their karma. So if anyone's worshiping or doing anything else in this world, if they worship Krishna even a little bit, then they'll start to develop taste for that and lose taste for other things.
Well, that is correct. But I think in both these points, you are mixing up worshipping demigods or devatas versus worshipping Krishna. So when one does bhakti of Krishna, then kleshagni or destruction of material desires occurs. But by worshipping the devatas, kleshagni would not occur. Okay. So, and that connects to the first point that Krishna Anushilanam means, yes, doing bhakti of Krishna or his incarnations or his devotees, that is perfectly correct. But making that extension that, by the way, the demigods are devotees of Krishna and therefore that is also included within Uttama Bhakti is also a little stretch too far. Because when most people worship the devatas, now as a devotee, you may be looking at devatas as devotees of Krishna, then you're already a bhakta. Then that's fine. You will, never disrespect the demigods and you will see them as devotees of Krishna. But I am here in the previous slide, I was talking about those vast majority of people who are worshipping devatas in the mood that I want some material benefits. They don't even know that they are devotees of Krishna. So for that vast segment of people, it is not apparent or it's not obvious to them that they are doing Uttama Bhakti or the intention is to do Krishna Bhakti. So saying that by doing that, they are ultimately doing Uttama Bhakti is a stretch too far.
Okay.
The question becomes, what should one do? So let's see what Shalu Mataji and Shanrila Mataji say.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I was thinking that as far as what we have learned so far, is that Krishna Bhakti is like all encompassing. If you are doing bhakti to Krishna, all other gods are included in it. So you are not making an offense to any of your kuldevatas. And I think it also is a very personal to come to people. So when they would like to leave the other pujas and archanas behind and just stick to Krishna worship. And I think it's a slow process, just like someone here said earlier. Thanks, Guru.
Very nice. Yes, Shamlila Mataji, and then we'll continue.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Can I ask it now?
Mhm.
So, at what point I feel like it's like sort of disturbing their mood? I've tried it, maybe I did not approach it properly, but I felt like I was just disturbing their mood and that disturbed me, so I just backed off. So, how do you assess of
Their
if
mood
they're
means
even ready for that
their
conversation?
their
Yeah,
mood means such
people
people.
who like like the Kuldevi is super important in the lives of many people. So how do you assess if they are ready for
So let's answer
even
this
a
question. Okay. You're talking more now as somebody who is how to bring about that change in somebody else. First,
without like
let's talk first about how to bring about that change in our life.
ji
If in that category, then we'll discuss how to influence or how to inspire others.
Prabhuji.
Okay, we'll come to that in just a second. So let's stay with this. So yes, many of you have covered, I think, most of the points. And I want to just say it a little differently. First of all, I have heard this from many people. Oh, giving up or not giving up, but at least having this clear understanding. And as again, I will say, understanding it within your bones at that level of understanding, which means having full faith, having that full conviction that Krishna Bhakti is topmost, may not come instantly to many people. But that is the message of Bhagavad Gita, as we can see here, and we will see that very clearly as we'll progress later through the chapters. Very clearly, you cannot miss it. Lord Krishna will say it in very strong ways as well. in chapters 7, 8, 9, and so on. So many people label this as ISKCON Siddhanta. They say, oh, this is all, new stuff that these Western people are teaching us because they don't know anything, or Srila Prabhupada just taught them some weird stuff. And how can we give up all this? This has been part of our tradition for hundreds and thousands of years, and this and that and that. So that is why one should go directly to the Shastra. Those same people have, if you ask them, is Bhagavad Gita the most important or a very important scripture of the Hindus? They will say absolutely yes. Srimad Bhagavatam, absolutely yes. But they have never read it. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see that. So first of all, the point is to become clear what is the message in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, to get complete clarity about it. And then what to do. Sorry, I was not sharing, so I will just share. What to do. So what to do is to read, is to immerse yourself in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. What was mentioned in that previous slide, that verse, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, with intensity perform Bhakti Yoga. And if this is the conflict that you have, then the best way is to immerse yourself in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam in association of others who have understood it. So hear from them. And many people also make the mistake of just hearing lectures, which are explanations, descriptions, but they miss the original text. So they will just put on a lecture and just hear, that like a radio. That is not high quality hearing, which means hearing means open the Bhagavatam in front of you. Like right now, I'm requesting all of you to keep Bhagavad Gita open in front of you. We are having Bhagavad Gita discussion, going back to Bhagavad Gita, reading the verses, discussing on them, hearing the explanation along with the book in front of you. So that is Bhagavat Shravan, reading, studying Bhagavatam, hearing about Bhagavatam in association of devotees as well. And the other thing that one should do is very intense Nama Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtan also in a particular way, not just joining Nam Sankirtan. Kirtan is going on and you are sitting and you are singing. That's very nice. But Nama Sankirtan, after understanding the potency and the power of the name, not just the Nami, not just the person whose name that we get through Bhagavatam, but how the name is connected to the person who is being named. So the importance, the significance of the Nam. So when one understands the significance of Nama, which comes again through Bhagavat Shravan and Sadhu Sangha, then doing that Nama Sankirtan with lot of feeling, as if you're really taking the name of a person you love. That one invests that this name is so sweet, is so powerful, and I am fortunate to be alive to take the name. With that feeling, when one takes, then taking the name. So that is the solution, and then this will get overcome. So one should continue to do this Tivra Bhakti Yoga. So yes, like some of you said, continue on both tracks. It will not be an overnight switch. And slowly you will gradually move from one track to the other. As one of you said, over time, it will happen. As time progresses, one will finally somehow get the inspiration. And as it progresses, one may begin to see the demigods, the devatas, as devotees of the Lord. So look, the perspective changes. Instead of going and asking them for material benefits, one asks them for Krishna Bhakti. So like this, the track can change. But it is very clear from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam that Krishna Bhakti is the fast track to spiritual progress. This whole path of just being absorbed in worshipping devatas and primarily worshipping devatas for the purpose of material benefits is going to keep you on a slow track. Now, if one says that this is too much, I cannot. I see what Bhagavad Gita is saying, I see what Bhagavatam is saying, but I just cannot give it up myself. Then at least you can pray to the devatas to show you the right path. Because they are dear and near to you. You ask them, what is, I'm hearing all this in Prabhuji's class. I'm hearing this in Bhagavad Gita. I read Bhagavatam. I heard the same thing. What is going on? I cannot leave your association. I cannot leave your worship. You only show me the right way. Like this, you can pray. And they will, guide you. So, all these things, what's going on? I heard some music. I don't know. Anyway, so I hope that helps. Now, coming to that question about Shamlila Mataji, about how somebody else, if we want to influence them, or if we want to, better word is inspire them, then what to do? Again, it is very hard, and especially it depends on who that person is, what relationship that person has with you. If the relationship is not good, or it is the relationship, the better or the best relationship is when there is a relationship of trust and respect. These two are the very important characteristics. Both trust has to be there, that this person, what he's saying is, there is no hidden agenda. I can fully trust that this person is speaking for my benefit. And respect that what this person is saying, I really want to accept that. I respect him so much that I will accept what he is giving. So if these two things are not there, then whatever you may say, even though it is coming from the most trustworthy and the most respectable source, which is Bhagavad Gita, but because it is coming through you, where there is that lack of trust or respect, then there will be some kind of a automatic rejection, or what's the other word? Some kind of a hesitation. So first, one should try to build that trustworthy or respectful relationship. Or it's very easy when one is a stranger. Like if you are sitting in a class and you are listening to some person, you don't know that person, then the focus is only on the content of the Shastra. Then you forget about who is speaking, you look at what he is saying, and the best thing is to speak from Shastra, show references. And if you are speaking from Shastra, it is very clear what is written. So then the focus is all there. The person just becomes a impersonal medium. Is just like a tape recorder. You don't have to have respect or trust in the tape recorder or the whatever Zoom software. It is just transparently. What is going on? I have no idea. I keep getting this music. Okay. So you don't have to have any trust or respect there. So especially it happens like what she was asking. It happens in close relationships with father and son, or child and parent, husband, wife, whatever, brothers, sisters. We try to give, we are so inspired by this understanding, this knowledge, We try to pass it on to them, but there is this huge history, and that comes in the as a hurdle or as a barrier. So therefore, there is truth in this, that it is very hard to preach to your family members or to your close friends, because they will know you more very closely, and they will say, "Are, 900 चूहे खा के बिल्ली हज को चली," means, oh, I know this person's reality, and now he's trying to teach me Bhagavad Gita and all. So that comes as a barrier. So best is to just, first of all, transform yourself. But that takes a long time. It's not easy. It's hard. And so lead by example, teach or show by actions more than words, because they will only see your actions and not words as much. And or present them just the book, or just go through the book. You don't add or delete anything. Don't give a lecture. Don't give your commentary. You can say, hey, let's just read. And the third thing is to connect them to somebody else whom they may not know, who will be the stranger, the impersonal medium to transmit the knowledge or the information in the Shastra to them. And finally, pray for them. So these are some of the points that come to my mind. Shamlila Mataji, does that help, or you have any?
Ji Prabhuji, that helps. Thank you so much. And I think sometimes, like you said, it's just right. They know you in and out, so it's almost like theek hai. Like you said, no so चूहे खा के बिल्ली हज को चली. I think that's it. They know you in and out, so now they're like, अच्छा अभी now she's like, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's always a barrier. I'm happy, and I'm actually more surprised that my son, for example, is in this Bhakti Shastri. I was not expecting. So he knows me with all my faults. So I don't know why he chose this, but it's a very rare occurrence. Or maybe he just wants to do Bhakti Shastri and he's ignoring my portions. He's just focusing on Shastra. And that's also fine. No problem.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, let us make progress. Yes, Ram Prabhu.
Right. So coming back to my question now, if I pray my kuldevata without any materialistic desires, does it lead to materialistic attachments further?
No, if you're not praying for materialistic desires, I mean, that depends on what you are. You told me how you are not praying, but then there has to be the positive angle also, what you are praying for. So what would you pray for? If not, you have told me what you would not do.
Pray just with total devotion, right? That's what it is. To the kuldevata.
Okay, but what does it mean, devotion to kuldevata? For what end? For what means? Ultimately, there has to be an objective. Devotion itself is not the objective in that sense.
Isn't it the same as praying Lord Krishna with the same devotion, right? The same devotion. What are we praying for? So that
Now you are now you are just using the words. You have not understood what is devotion to Krishna, but you're saying, hey, you're doing that, so why can't I do that? So, but what would you really mean when you say devotion to the kuldevata? So, for example, one of the thing means that to serve the kuldevata, ultimately to ask for their service, or to go and live with them. Okay. Mam eti, Lord Krishna says, Punar janma naiti, mam eti. You will attain me. Attain me means you will come and live with me. So those can be, you can say, I want to go live with the kuldevata. I want to serve them. So if that is the desire, then you will get that. You will get to live with them. 9.25 says exactly this. that those who worship the demigods get to go and live with the demigods. That's fine.
Do they get into this Janma Marana cycle, or are they
On who is the kuldevata? If the kuldevata himself is at a material level, then you will get to go to the material planet. And material planet means it's much higher than this earth planet, but ultimately it is part of the material world. So that depends. I'm not an expert in all the kuldevata's, all their, where they live and what how their whole system works. But that depends on who is the kuldevata.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So if one is very attached to the kuldevatas, the best thing, many of the things just come through family traditions and all. And even those kuldevatas will have various shastras, various original authentic scriptures, which will tell how to worship them and what you will get as a result. Try to understand that instead of just focusing on what you have learned through your just culture or upbringing or the manner in which you have been raised. And that only gives a very tiny picture of the whole thing. So try to gain the full understanding. So if one is so devoted, the first thing one should do is to get to know more from authentic sources. If one has not done that, then I would question, are you really serious even about them or not? We are serious about Krishna, so we are going in depth about what Krishna said and did. What he said is Bhagavad Gita and what he did is Bhagavatam. So we are serious about this, so we are trying to go into that. If you are serious about some kuldevata, go into that. I guarantee you, you will uncover so many new things that you had not even heard about, and many of the things you will figure out are exactly opposite of what you heard about. So invest the time and energy where you claim to have interest. That one should put, as they say, one should put their money where their mouth is. Otherwise, it is double speak or lip service. All right. Okay. So next. So why so many paths? So another very important verse, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So there are two angles in this verse, so I will just stick to the first line. That Lord Krishna is saying, I have created all this whole system with so many paths. Again, it is getting connected to that verse that ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. That basically everyone is on my path, and he says that I have created all these paths, and he's giving an example of these paths as Chaturvarnyam, these four varnas. What are the four varnas? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. This whole system has been created by me. And I am giving a chance to these various types of people. What types of people? What do you mean type? Guna karma vibhagashaha. The type or that division, vibhaga, that categorization has been done based on guna and karma. So based on one's activities, based on one's qualities, or more than qualities, guna means conditioning based on one's samskaras. So past conditioning, one is given a particular kind of role to play in the society. Guna karma vibhagashaha. And what role? Based on the varna, chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. So that is, and one can make progress in bhakti in any of these four varnas. So these four varnas are not limiting as to how much one can progress in one's bhakti. But these four varnas are just being So this is not limiting one's bhakti. So one should not take it that bhakti is limited by being in these varnas. This whole verse or the first line is talking about the alternate paths, the lower paths, the slow track. And in slow track, in Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, nobody talks about bhakti in the general sense. In the general sense, as a Brahmana, you should do certain Brahmanical activities, certain, Brahmanical duties. Bhakti is a very tiny part of being a Brahman or Brahman's duties. Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, it almost becomes zero. So these are the ways in which one slowly progresses up into the spiritual path. Just like a corporate environment also. There is a very nice example I have come up with. In the corporate environment, we have in a software company, let us say. We have engineers who write the code. Then you have sales and marketing people who go and sell the product. They are like the Vaishyas. The Shudras are like the software engineers. Now, again, this word Shudra has a bad meaning, as if they are some kind of, low class untouchables. That is not the meaning of Shudra. Shudra means who does their job. Nobody reports to them. They are individual contributors. They are just told what to do, and they do exactly as much as they have been told. They don't much use their, innovation and strategy and thinking vision and all these things is not their cup of tea. They write that much code and they go home. So they are like Shudras. Vaishyas are those who deal with all the business, sales and marketing, we can say. Kshatriya are the administrators, all your middle management, as they say, directors, vice presidents, whatever, general managers. So they are administering the whole functioning. And Brahmanas are your top, technical architects or your CEO, something. CEO may be at the very top, but Brahmanas are like your visionaries, your thinkers, think tank, who guide the company in a particular direction. Maybe even you can say board of directors. So they are like the Brahman class. So to run a corporate company, don't you need all these 4 categories of people? You can have the best software engineers, but if there are no salespeople, then how will you sell? You need managers to manage the thing. So you need the whole system. So just because you're a software engineer, you don't feel like I'm an untouchable. So this whole system has been based on one's quality, one's activities. So sometimes a very deeply technical person continues to be an engineer. He doesn't want to become a manager because that's not his nature. A good engineer sometimes is promoted to become a manager and he does a very bad job because that's not his nature. He wants to continue to do that job, which he does well. So one should not look down upon the caste system. This caste system has been made, especially after the Britishers came to India. And without this proper understanding, one thinks, oh, this is the caste, this is the caste. And it is our own responsibility also that caste system has been made to be based on birth. Now, in a certain sense, it is based on birth because our understanding comes over a long, many lifetimes. So based on your past life, the guna and karma, you get the next life as being born as in a Shudra family or a Brahmana family, where you are groomed in that same way. So it is just a continuation of your past guna and karma. But it is not that it cannot be changed. If you are born in a Shudra family, the idea is and if that Shudra family is truly a Shudra family by its work, by its qualities, then you will be groomed like that, or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya. That's the expectation. But being born in a true Vaishya family, for example, you can in this current life, you can change into a Kshatriya or a Brahmana as well. Otherwise, one would question, for once a Shudra, always a Shudra. How will it change? And where did it start? So it's not fixed. It can change and it can take time. It can take time as much as over multiple lifetimes it can take. It's a long journey. So it can change. That is the main point. And this, just like a software engineer can become a manager or can go into sales. I was a software engineer, by the way. I became a manager once. I myself, I'm telling you my personal example, I did not do a good job. I again became individual contributor. And till today, I am individual contributor. Nobody in the last 25 years, except for that 2 years when I was manager, nobody ever reported to me. Till today, nobody reports to me. I don't give the raises to anybody. Nobody, I don't know anybody's salary in my company. So I'm an individual contributor and I love that. So you can say I'm a Shudra in my company. That's fine. Nobody, I have a lot of respect. So this whole thing, caste system, has gained a lot of disgust or a lot of bad understanding because it has been degraded to be based only on birth. And that is absolutely not the case. And you can see here, Lord Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. It's based on Guna and Karma. So I wanted to share that. Okay, Arnab Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Is a Vaishnava considered a Brahmana? That's one question I had.
Good.
And
Good. Let's go one by one. So when one becomes, or when one takes sincerely to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and becomes a Vaishnava or tries to become a Vaishnava, then one is above Brahman. Brahman has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with Vaishnava. A Brahman can be as far away from a Vaishnava as possible or can be as close to a Vaishnava as possible. Same with Shudra. Shudra can be a topmost Vaishnava. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was this cobbler, one who fixes shoes. He was a Vaishnava. He was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was a fruit seller or somebody, not fruit seller. What did he sell? Kulavecha Sridhar? Palm leaf, not palm, banana leaves he would sell. So you can say he's either a Vaishya or Shudra or somewhere like that. Great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What was your other question?
I was trying to understand, based on these qualities and gunas, if I should classify myself as a Shudra because of my lack of knowledge about what a Brahmana duty are, or even what a Kshatriya duty are, or what a Vaishya duty are. So is that a fair point to say that I am a Shudra?
No, because you don't know the categorization doesn't mean you automatically fall into the one of them. I don't even want to say the fourth category. It means like it's not fourth or first, like there's no ranking, but it just doesn't, it means you don't know.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
So know
Thank you.
about it, and then you can put yourself in that. And basically what it means is that you have to know your, at a material level, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra means your material propensities, your quality in terms of your nature, swabhava. In the 18th chapter, this word swabhava will be used. So it is your swabhav. In Hindi we say, or in Sanskrit, swabhav means just your nature. So there are various aspects of the natures of these four varnas, and by your nature you can analyze yourself. You know yourself best. You can analyze where you fall. But if your goal is bhakti, then all this is useless exercise. Why you want to even know what you are, whether you are a Kshatriya, Brahman, Vaishya, etc. The goal is to do bhakti, then do bhakti wherever you are or whatever you may be. Okay, so don't worry too much about who you are. And all of us have very small time left ahead of us. Some of us may have 5 days, some of us may have 50 years. Both are small, or both are little only, or short periods of time. In the grand scheme of things, don't waste your time in all this. Focus on bhakti.
Okay.
Yes. Just because it is coming up in Bhagavad Gita, I am teaching. But it doesn't mean that that is the most important. Okay. So next, the next line, Tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. So now Krishna is changing the mood a little bit. And he is bringing about the point, he's bringing the focus back to himself as being God. So he's saying, I have created this system and people are following my system one way or the other, but I am above these laws. I am above this system. I am God. And in the next verse, he will say exactly that. Iti mam yo abhijanati. That one who knows me, or one who knows this, iti abhijanati. One who knows this about me, yo mam. What happens to him? He gets liberated. Karma bhi na sa badhyate. That he gets liberated. Na badhyate. From all the actions, whatever he does, there is no binding. There is liberation. So again, the focus is being brought back to Jnana. Now you will see there is a subtle change in the mood. Now it is going from Bhakti Jnana to Sankhya Gyan or Brahma Gyan, as we will call it. So that is going to be the next topic coming up in chapter 4. So before concluding this Bhakti Gyan portion of chapter 4, Lord Krishna gives a very important verse. How to do this Bhakti Gyan. And he's not really telling how to do, but he's giving a pointer, a reference. So 15 is a very important verse. What I call it is a Tasmat verse. Any verse which has the word Tasmat in it, especially the ones that start with Tasmat, or Ataha. Ataha means therefore. Tasmat means therefore. So any verse which has these words, or especially that start with it, are very important. So this verse has it. It does not start, but it has it. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. That all the liberated souls in ancient times have acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. So if you want to know how to do bhakti through Jnana Yoga, follow their footsteps. Many, many saints have mumukshubhihi, means those who have attained perfection through this path. One should follow them. Tasmat tvam purvaiva purvataram kritam. Look at those purva, those previous acharyas or those previous people. Purvataram in the previous ages, and kuru karmaiva, do like them. So follow them, follow their example. That is what is being said. So much evidence, personal evidence has been left behind, Lord Krishna is saying. So many acharyas have shown how one can perfect their life by following the instructions of Krishna. And they have shown that it is possible. It's not just theoretical. It is practically possible. They are living examples, or they have left behind their personal lives as examples. So one should follow their footsteps, one should read about them, one should learn about them. And Srimad Bhagavatam has so many examples of such devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam actually is not about Krishna, about God. It is more about devotees of God. All the pastimes are about God's devotees. And there are so many other biographies of devotees also. So I'm planning to, again, I keep making promises and sometimes or many times I don't fulfill them. But I'm thinking of, discussing pastimes of great devotees. There's a book called Bhaktamaal, which has pastimes of so many devotees. So I'm thinking of, doing some sessions or some reading sessions on Bhaktamaal. We'll see how much we are able to do that. But if you are interested, you should definitely do it yourself. And so many other biographies and pastimes of devotees are there in so many other places. Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of them. Okay. So let's continue forward. We have half an hour left. So now the tone is changing. Transition is occurring from Bhakti Gyan to Brahma Gyan. So now Lord Krishna will give the Jnana Yoga as it is traditionally understood. Not Bhakti Gyan, but Gyan about Brahman, the impersonal absolute truth. So, first of all, Lord Krishna is going to say that this whole thing, first of all, is a little complex to understand. So in the 16th verse, Lord Krishna says, Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayo apyatra mohitaha. Mohita means illusioned or they don't know clearly. Mohita means to be bewildered or being illusioned. Kavayo means the intelligent people. Kavayo, the wise people, even they are bewildered about kim karma, kim akarmeti. What is karma? What is akarma? Even the wise people are unable to understand properly, what to speak of normal people like us. But Krishna says, I will try to explain it to you. Tatte karma pravakshyami. That whole knowledge, jnana about this philosophy of karma, I will try to explain to you. Yad gyatva mokshashe ashubhat. And by knowing this also you can attain moksha. So even this impersonal knowledge about the impersonal absolute truth is also liberating. It will provide Brahman liberation, but it will provide that moksha or that spiritual destination. So next thing he says in the 4.17 is there are three types of karma. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha karmanaha, vikarmanaha, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. That there are three types of karma. First, he says karmano, vikarmanaha, and akarmanash. So, akarma is spiritual action or non-binding. Karma is pious action and vikarma is sinful action. So there are these three categories of action. Lord Krishna will leave it at that. And we all understand what is pious and sinful action. And spiritual action is akarma. So karma and vikarma are binding. I hope you all understand that by now. And spiritual action is non-binding. It does not create any binding. It may produce fruits, but it is non-binding. For example, Nishkama Karma Yoga definitely is non-binding. And similarly, any activity that one does while following the paths of Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti, they are all non-binding because they are spiritual actions. But ultimately, Lord Krishna says that understanding this law of karma is extremely complex. Two times he says, In the 16th verse, he says, Kavayo api atra mohitaha, that even the wise people get confused. And gahana karmano gatihi, that this whole law of karma is very gahana, very gahan, very, very complex. So then the question becomes, how can we abide by a law that is so hard to understand? It's like you are being asked to play a game where the rules are so complex rules. I remember I bought a board game with my children called Risk. How many of you have played that Risk? It is so complicated, this one, that one. To understand the rules and to keep it in mind while playing the game is impossible. Then we stopped playing after some time because it is so complicated to play. The rules are so complex. So the question, and it's a simple game, let us say, very simple, whatever, I don't know. What's the simplest game? Snakes and ladders or whatever. You can play. So this law of karma, this game of life, so to say, which is governed by the law of karma, is so complex. Lord Krishna himself is saying, how can we abide by the law of karma? But Lord Krishna will say that simply, first of all, if one is doing bhakti to Krishna, then one does not need to worry about law of karma. Just by simply doing bhakti, one is absolved of all the ill reactions that may come by following or not following the law of karma. So bhakti is the topmost solution. Even if you remove bhakti from the equation, then the simple understanding of the law of karma is enough. And in the most basic terms, law of karma means as you sow, so shall you reap. So living one's life in a contented, in a little detached way with regulated sense gratification will keep you away from all sinful reactions of the law of karma. Always remember that first verse of Ishopanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridha kasya sviddhanam. That always live within your means, what has been provided to you. Don't try to grab things which are not meant for you. And on top of it, the most important is to consider that everything, whatever belongs to you, has been given to you or to others. Ultimately, it belongs to Krishna. We are all simply caretakers. We are all renters. We are not owners. We are only renting the apartment. We don't own it. So with that mood, with that feeling, one can stay away from all the ill effects of the law of karma. But Lord Krishna is giving us three categories of karma: akarma, vikarma, and karma, or sukarma, as one can say. But he says that it is very complex to understand. Then in the 18th verse, we will get a taste of complexity. So please read the translation of the 18th verse. So take a moment and read it. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men. And he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So this is how a wise person is supposed to see action. So what does it mean? Inaction in action and action in inaction. What does it mean? This is how the sutras are formed. So you can see law of karma in action here. In action. So how do we understand this? Inaction. Can somebody tell me what is inaction in action? Now it can have multiple meanings, but what could be a meaning of one who sees inaction in action?
That will be doing duty without attachment.
Okay. Shweta Mataji.
Performing such activities or actions which do not result in some results, like which do not give results, basically doing karmic activities.
Okay. Anything else? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so both these answers make sense.
Can I? Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it feels like doing something with no intent is an action with inaction. Is an action with which has an inaction in it, and the other one is doing.
Wait. Just the first one. Okay. So you're saying without any intent. Okay.
Right. Doing something without an intent is an action with an inaction in it. And not doing something with an intent is the other form of it.
Okay. So, yeah, so inaction in action. So one is this, like you said, there's a spiritual angle to it. Most of you mentioned with detachment or what was the other thing that was mentioned? Yeah. The other angle also can be that inaction in action, which means one is through their actions, one may think that one is doing something beneficial, but ultimately they are doing something which will bring themselves harm in the future. For example, sinful action. So if one is doing sinful action, immediately or in the short term, there may be benefit or profit. In the long term, there will be loss. So that is another way, but another way is inaction in action. That when one sees somebody doing an action in a completely detached way, with no attachment to the results, then it does not produce any reaction, karmic reaction, and that is therefore it becomes inaction. Now going to the other one, action in inaction. What does that mean? This is the more complicated one. Action in inaction. How can you explain that? Anybody?
Like externally, you appear to be inactive, but internally, you are very much attached to that thing.
Okay. Yes, Hasini Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Maybe it's like there's when you're renouncing things, that's actually the action because you're renouncing it. So that's the correct thing to do.
Okay, so one sees, yeah. So all these are good points. One sees action of renunciation, and the renunciation itself is inaction or being renounced. So that is one understanding. Or like I think one of you said, internally there is a lot of activity in terms of spiritual activities, meditation or bhakti or whatever. So there is internal action, but externally there is inaction. So one sees that externally there is no action, but internally there's a lot of action. Or also at the material level, inaction. One may be doing inaction, no activity. So one may be not being very greedy, not doing all these material level activities of greed or sense gratification. One is abstaining from those, and one sees action in that. Action means forward action. He's making forward progress. He's doing good for himself by not doing, by remaining detached from some of these sinful activities or harmful activities. So one can see action in inaction. Not doing certain things is also beneficial. So this is all hinting at the law of karma, and you can understand that law of karma can be very complex. One of the aspects of law of karma is that even thoughts create karma. Now that there's a special discount for sinful thoughts in Kali Yuga do not create karmic reaction, but positive thoughts do create positive karmic reaction. You get pious results from it. So even thoughts in that sense create action. So, and thoughts are completely internal. So at a material level also, thoughts, actual actions, all these are taken into account, and therefore it is very, very difficult to analyze who got good karma, who got bad karma, how much karma, this karma, that karma. Is very difficult to analyze. So Lord Krishna leaves it at that this is the law of karma, but knowing about it is very important because it leads to liberation. So this knowing about karma is the actual Jnana Yoga, and that is the transition that is coming up in the next few verses. Okay. So 19 to 23, these 5 verses are very nice, very instructive verses. How a Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogi works. So the emphasis is performing duties, but that was the emphasis of Karma Yoga also. But in Jnana Yoga is performing the duties, but with the spiritual knowledge of what I am getting into by performing the duties. What is this whole understanding of the law of karma, how I should perform actions, what are the results, how I can stay away from the reactions, that entire knowledge, having that knowledge makes the activities themselves non-binding. Jnana Agni Dagdha Karmanam. Dagdha means they are burnt up. The Karmanam, the activities are burnt up, Dagdha, in the Jnana Agni, in the fire of Jnana. So when one does activities with the Jnana, then the reactions of those activities are burnt up. So that is mentioned in 4.19. And so 4.19 says, one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by the sages to be a worker for whom reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. And then in 4.20, abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertaking. So even a Jnana Yogi has to engage himself in action, but knowing about this whole system of karma makes him or leads to liberation. Now 4.21 is a very important verse where now this is a frequently asked question. So should I give up all activities, or is it okay to, have to do the basic activities of life? So in verse 21, Lord Krishna is saying, such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. So that is the important part. Shariram kevalam karma, only for maintaining the body. Now, shariram means one's body, but it can also mean one's close family, because we all live in a family, in a grihastha situation. If you are a brahmachari or a vanaprastha or a sannyasi, then you are only responsible for your own body. As a grihastha, you get responsibility for the body of your grihastha, of your family or your household. So the household is included in this for grihasthas. So This verse is saying, Shariram kevalam karma kurvan na apnoti kilbisham. That working in such a way, one does not get entangled in the web of karmic reactions. But how you have to do all the activities? Nirashi yat chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha. That such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions. The sense of proprietorship. Again, Isha Vashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat means everything belongs to God. I am just a caretaker. And with that mood of being a caretaker, not a proprietor, one should live their life. And it is okay to do the necessary activities to maintain one's life. So if somebody asks you, does Bhagavad Gita, it talks too much about attachments, or sorry, detachments and giving up attachments. Does it say anywhere, is it that you can have a family and you can maintain your family? 4.21 is the verse where Krishna says it is perfectly okay to work, to do whatever is needed to maintain your family, but without any greed or passion or in a nirashi way. Nirashi means without any sense of proprietorship. And the next point is being satisfied with whatever comes or whatever doesn't come, and continuing to do one's spiritual duty regardless. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, yadricha labha santushto. Yadricha means out of its own accord. We may think we have done enough, but it may not be enough. So we are satisfied. One becomes santushta. One becomes satisfied with whatever comes, labha, out of its own accord. Don't over endeavor. Do your work and be satisfied with whatever result. Dvandatito vimatsaraha sama siddhava asiddhau cha kritva apina nibadhyate. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. So continue to perform actions. Now, bhakti is not being mentioned here because bhakti is not the focus of this section, but there is this very nice verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which says, Alabdhe, same thing, Alabdhe va vinashte va bhakshya achhadana sadhane aviklava matir bhutva harim eva dhiya smarit. So the first 2 lines or 3 lines are saying the same thing, Alabdhe va vinashte va. Whatever comes or whatever you thought will come and didn't come. Okay. Bhakshya achhadan sadhane, for all these material things. Bhakshya means to eat. Achhadan means to wear. So whatever clothes, food, whatever you wanted, if it came, good. If it didn't come, fine. But this verse goes ahead than the Bhagavad Gita verse. This says, Aviklava matir bhutva harim eva dhiya smarit. One should always focus with a single pointed mind. Aviklava mati means single-minded mind, single-focused mind on Hari. Harim eva dhiya smaret, always remembering him in your heart, in your mind. With a single-pointed focus, if one should do that. And yes, do whatever you need to do to maintain your life. Some things will come, some things will not come. Some things will go according to plan, some things will not go according to plan. It's okay. I took this 2-month leave here to come to India. One of my objective was, after my mom passed away, to sell the flat and get rid of all the entanglements. I could not do that. Some bureaucratic or some issues came up. Even the buyer is ready to buy and everything is there, but just some So it could not happen. It's okay. It was not supposed to happen. We'll do it later. It's fine. So not getting, again, I'm not saying I am not disturbed. I am very disturbed because I am not a very advanced person, but a devotee, advanced person should never get disturbed. One can make plans and they may happen, they may not happen. That's fine. Okay. So the result of this is mentioned in 4.23. And here the full transition into Brahma Gyan is going to occur. So Gata Sangasya Muktasya, one who has given up all attachments to material things, Gyan Avasthita Chetasaha, one is fully Gyan Avasthita, one is fully situated in this Jnana Yoga. Yagyaya Acharatah Karma, and one is doing whatever activities he is doing for the sake of Yagya, only for spiritual progress. Samagram praviliyate. So samagram pravaliyate, what is means? One merges into samagram. What is this samagram? Into transcendence or into totality. What it means is merges into the Brahman. And that word Brahman for the first time in Bhagavad Gita will come in the next verse. And it will come in one verse 4 times. So now the Brahman will be introduced in the next verse. So what this means is that the result of this Jnana Yoga, samagram, into that totality, into that oneness, which is Brahman, praviliyate, one will merge into that samagram, into that singularity by being situated in Jnana, Jnana Avasthita Chetasaha. So no entanglement with karmic reaction. So what is that samagram? Samagram is an important word in the previous verse. That samagram is nothing but Brahman. So Brahman is being introduced in the 4th chapter. So Brahma Arpanam Brahma Hivaha Brahma Agnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times Brahman is coming in this verse. So what it means? Everything is Brahman. That is what is being said. That is in one line or in one short way to understand is that everything is Brahman. What is Brahman? Everything. That's the answer. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that spiritual element, that's the term I have used. What is this samagram, or that spiritual nature, or that spiritual element? It is the basis of everything. All matter, what we see is matter, we don't see Brahman, but it is supported by Brahman. All all material matter is supported by this spiritual element called Brahman, and that is what is being said here. It is everything. So that is Brahman. So that is 4.24. And the way to realize Brahman in the in the path of Jnana Yoga is through doing various kinds of sacrifices or yagya. So there are different kinds. So how can one do, what is the path or the process of Jnana Yoga? Is through various types of sacrifices. Now, it doesn't mean fire sacrifices. It is about austerities, about various kinds of austerities. So that is being described in the, oh, it is already 7:30. Sorry. What Pacific time? So Indian time is 7:30.
8 p.m. Prabhuji.
9:30, sorry. 8 p.m. Okay. So let me see. Yeah. So we will stop here because if we cover, yeah, this will take 5-10 minutes. So let's see any comments, questions. So we'll start from 25 next time and we'll finish the chapter. And maybe we'll start chapter 5 also. We'll see. And next time I'll be back. By this time, I'll be back in the US, hopefully. So
I think it will be a shorter class.
that
day will be a shorter
it will be a short class
1
that day.
hour.
1 hour.
6 to
Okay.
7
So that day will be a short class. So we'll just finish chapter 4 next time. All right. Yes, Shamlila Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question. So, for like seeing inaction in action, in action, would like note understanding that we are not the only doers constitute a part of that equation.
Yes. So inaction, in action. That's what you
Right.
mean, right?
Right.
Yes. In that sense, I mean, think of it that way because we are doing a lot of action, but results are
Right.
not coming. No results are coming. One can say, "Kya kiya tumne? Time waste kiya." What did you do? You wasted your time. Result was not produced. Even though you did so much action, it was inaction because result was not produced. And why result was not produced? Because you are not the only doer. So like that,
Ji.
I can say that can be fitted in that way.
Ji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Ram Prabhu.
Yeah, sorry. Again, the same question. What is the hierarchy of gods, right? Earlier we had this question of demigods, right? Where does Shiva fall? Where does Brahma fall? Where does Vishnu? What is the hierarchy? Are they gods? Are they demigods? How does that fall in place?
Yeah. So let me bring up a picture if I can find it. Hmm. Okay, I think I found it. Let me share. So I hope you can see this.
Yeah, I can see that.
It shows a little bit, not, oops. So not all of them, but this is the material world. Okay. This whole thing is the material world with so many universes. And then this is the spiritual world. Okay. So Lord's energy within the within the material world is Mother Durga. So she is considered a very prominent goddess, or we can say Devi. She is the controller of all material energy, and she herself is Lord's energy. So, in that sense, she is spiritual because she is Lord's energy, but she is controlling the material world. Then, so that is one aspect, one of the, you can say, Devis or devatas. You said Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is in the spiritual world in Kailasha. He's known as Sadashiva. Now, these are complex topics. Now, Lord Shiva is understood as various Rudras. So there is Shiva, Rudra, and Shankara. Do you understand the difference between the three?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so we all think they are all like, different names for the same person. That is, at a certain level, it is true. Like we can say Rama, Krishna, Vishnu, they are all the same, which is true. But we understand Rama had a certain different mood. Not just the pastimes were different, that he was born in Ayodhya, his brother was Lakshman. For Krishna, it is Balram. That is one thing, but the whole mood is also different. Ram had a certain mood. Krishna had a certain mood. Krishna was more naughty, was more notorious in that sense. He could do things which Lord Ram couldn't do. And when Lord Ram did those things like hitting Vali from the back, he was severely criticized. Being Ram, how can you do that? If you were Krishna, fine, we can understand. He did so many other things also. But being Ram, how can you do that? So he's the same person, but similarly, Shiva, Shankara, and Rudras, there are so many Rudras. They all have a different understanding. So Sadashiva is within the spiritual world. And then you see here Lord Shiva in the material world. So Lord Shiva descends into the material world or Sadashiva descends into the material world as Rudras, as various Rudras. Then you asked about Brahma and Lord Brahma also. So Brahma ji is in the material world. Now Lord Vishnu is also in the material world. You can see here Lord Vishnu in this material world as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, from whose navel Lord Brahma is coming. We visited this Ananta Padmanabh Swami temple in Tiruvananthapuram or Trivandrum. Huge deity of Lord Vishnu was there. And from his navel, Lord Brahma was coming out. The lotus was made, and we could see that lotus in the Ananta Padmanabh Swami deity. So now Lord Vishnu has, again, I'm giving you a very kind of a quick and very disconnected answer to or description because of your question. Lord Vishnu descends into the material world as 3 Guna avatars. Guna avatars are Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, which is what we know as the 3 gods or the Trinity, or Brahma, Lord Vishnu as the maintainer, Lord Brahma as the creator, and Lord Shiva as the destroyer. They are considered at a certain sense, at a certain level, avatars, Guna avatars of Lord Vishnu himself. Then Lord Vishnu himself has 3 Purusha avatars. Kshirodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Karnodakshai Vishnu. It's going to take a lot of time to explain all these things. Sometime I can do a session on this, but I hope you get a sense of that it's not a simple hierarchy. So then the question becomes, if you are really interested in the hierarchy for sake of information, there are so many Puranas that have this information. I can point you and you can go and read. But if you are interested in this understanding for more than sake of information, if you are really interested in this so that you can focus on bhakti, then it's a different matter. Then I would encourage you to find the connection. How is this information going to help your bhakti? And we can have a dedicated discussion on some specific points that you have. But if you generally want to know what is the whole hierarchy, as they say, what's the org chart, then it's a very complex and huge org chart, and it's available in the Puranas and the various other scriptures, and you can go through it. Okay.
Thank you.
Hmm? Yeah, but the Bhagavatam says that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that at the top of the hierarchy, the original form of Bhagavan is Krishna. So, yeah, in this chart also, at the topmost is Lord Krishna, and that is the
That is what
final.
Vishnu is Krishna, right? Like Vishnu is
Yes.
right. One avatar of Vishnu. Vishnu is Krishna.
Yes. Gaudiya Vaishnav understanding states it in a different way, but I don't want to get there right now.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much for your participation, for your time. And we will see you next week. And yeah. No. And yeah, month of Kartik is almost coming to an end. So please celebrate this month of Kartik in a very devotional way. Offer a ghee lamp to Lord Krishna. Read Srimad Bhagavatam more if possible. Do some more Nama Sankirtan, Nama Jap during this month while the Kartik month is still ongoing. I think it ends on 15th November. Yeah, so exactly 1 week is left. Please try to make the most of the Kartik month and have a blissful time. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can I leave? Will like the recording get affected?